Dear viewers, welcome to my podcast. This is going to be my first podcast in English, and I have a very special guest today joining us from all the way from Germany. The founder and owner of Haruki Murakami Art on YouTube, Mr. Salih Yayar. Salih is a digital content creator, and I met Salih on Haruki Murakami Facebook fan page when he posted a trail of one of his Murakami short movies. I immediately checked his YouTube channel and watched the full movie. And I generally watch all movies till the end, till that black screen appears. I'm like that, and I read everything, which I'm glad I did because I saw Salih's name as the director of the movie. And I instantly sent him a message to say hi and to congratulate him. Well, it's also because I'm a Turkish American and Salih is a Turkish German. And I was so glad to see a Turkish name on a production. And this production happened to be on a book by one of my favorite writers, Haruki Murakami. Salih was very kind to accept to be my guest today. And today has the energy of number five, dear viewers. As you know, I'm into numerology. And it's a great day for broadcasting, creativity, and genuine ideas. And Salih happens to be the perfect guest for this energy. Salih, welcome to my podcast.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the very kind words. I really appreciate it.
Of course, yes. Well, Salih and I have been planning this for a while, but we couldn't do it. And finally, today we are here. Well, Salih, before taking too much of your time, I have several questions, and I would like to begin with, who are you? Salih, I would like to know a little bit more about you. You're a digital creator. You're a content creator at Haruki Murakami Art YouTube channel, which you founded, correct?
Yep, correct.
Can you give some more information about yourself, your career, your background in digital art?
Sure, of course. I'm just a regular guy from Germany. I have always been an avid reader. I love films and movies, and I've always been into short films. I've been shooting some stuff since my youth. And I got into Haruki Murakami in 2018, which was kind of a blast for me because he's such a visual storyteller. Of course, every author can, project images inside your head, but his storytelling kind of really hooked me, and I needed to visualize it somehow. So I started to edit all these films and short films. At the very beginning, I was just checking out visual art online, and I've seen that there are a lot of images by other artists, but not really moving images. And this is what kind of motivated me to start the whole thing. And by accident, I just opened an Instagram account called Haruki Murakami Art 5 years ago, I guess, and shared some pictures I found online with credit to the artists themselves. And then I thought, why don't you do anything with YouTube? Because you love to edit videos, you love to edit films, and that's how the whole thing started.
Well, do you have an education, a background on filmmaking, editing, or it's just purely hobby?
It's a pure hobby. I had some friends in the past years that worked together with me that showed me some skills. I attended some online courses about video editing and software, but in the end, it was just all self-taught, and that's how I got into the thing.
Wow, that's incredible.
Practicing with cameras and so on. Thank you. So I was practicing with cameras and so on, and also with video software, and it just has been some sort of progress in the past years. So I started the thing when I was 14 years old, and that's now 22 years ago. And there were a lot of accidents, but there were also some videos I'm really proud of until today. And that's how the whole thing started.
Well, yeah, you should be proud, and I think you're being very modest about this. Well, I'm hoping. I know you have quite a bit of followers, but maybe after today, so my viewers or other people will be able to reach your channel. And I think your productions are nothing like an amateur, like hobby looking. I mean, I thought you were a filmmaker, honestly, when I
Thank
watched
you so
first
much.
time. Yes. So,
Yeah.
and they're not very short movies either. Like, I mean, they're not like 5, 6 minutes. Some of them are like about 40, 50 minutes, right? The last one you made on 1Q84, 50 minutes long, if I'm correct.
Yeah, 45, and then I got another about Kafka on the Shore, which is nearly 1 hour. You
Yes.
know, these are some which I call documentaries. That are a little bit longer. They got
Hmm.
more to tell. Yeah,
Hmm.
and then we have some short documentaries about 20 minutes, 15
Hmm.
minutes. In the end, it's just all about the book. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Salih, is there interest among Turkish Germans in Murakami books and your art?
So what I noticed is a particular interest from people in Turkey
In
themselves.
Turkey. Okay, not
Yeah.
Turkish Germans necessarily, but Turkish people in
Yes.
Turkey. Okay. Hmm.
Also, I also received messages from like Turkish students that live in Germany. Of course, I also have some friends that have Turkish background in Germany.
Hmm.
Um, they usually are more into other stuff because our friendship is just based on things like Star Wars and science fiction
Oh,
and gaming,
okay.
and I slowly start to infect them with Murakami.
Oh, great.
It's progressing slowly, but we're getting into it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
what I've noticed is a huge community from Turkey.
Hmm.
And just this week, we have started maybe you have noticed it, a Murakami Reading Club Turkey.
Oh, yes,
And
I saw it on Instagram. Yes.
yeah, it's a really cool thing. And there's a huge appreciation in Turkey that I've
Hmm.
noticed. Yeah.
Yes. And I think his translations in Turkish are excellent. So, to go back to your filmmaking,
Yeah.
so you were making short movies, but then your love for Murakami's books like made it like, okay, I'll just focus on this, just making
Hmm.
Murakami movies. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how that's how it just started to roll. Because when I first started the YouTube channel, my initial goal was to interview people that work on art related to him.
Okay.
At the very beginning, I did this. I had an interview with a visual artist who made an additional cover for Kafka on the Shore. It was a
Hmm.
fan made cover.
Hmm.
But then I noticed that there's so much more to tell. You can talk about the characters, you can talk about the
Yes.
storylines, you can
Yes.
talk about the places in Tokyo and Japan, and yeah,
Yes.
that's what the main focus is on right now. And then we got the podcast and so on, and
Hmm.
things just started to flow. Yeah,
Yeah, well, I talk about Murakami a lot as well with my friends, and I wasn't able to infect a lot of people so far, but maybe after this one. But yeah, I'm an avid reader of Murakami, and
yeah,
so basically, yes, his books, his visual expressions in his books was your inspiration to start this.
yeah.
I'm still curious, Sadi, how you organize the themes from the books from his at least 300 pages long stories. Like, for instance, if we have some readers here who have never read one, like, for instance, look at IQ 84, the thickness
Yeah,
of this baby. This is how many pages? 700, I'm sure something.
yeah. The German
Oh
version
no,
has
what
more than
700?
1,000. Yeah, yeah.
1,156 pages. So,
Huge.
how
Yeah.
do you make this into a short movie?
The thing I do is it's very unorganized.
Okay.
I just think about which is the next book I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
Then I announce it without having anything ready. I just
Oh,
announce it
okay.
because then I can force myself to do it, right? and
Well, to
and
universe, like, yay, a
yeah, yeah,
message universe, kind of.
it's like let's push it out and see what
Exactly.
happens. And yeah, and then it's a flow I get into. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just driving around in the car, listen to music. I think about the characters which are most important to me. I just break it down to the most important parts for me
Mm-hmm.
and all the storylines that are most important to me. And then I also combine it with things happening actually in the world. Just as an example, for the Wind Up Bird Chronicle,
Mm-hmm.
while I was reading the Wind Up Bird Chronicle, we had, I guess you heard about it, this tragic earthquake in Turkey.
Yes.
And That's something I try to connect, right? To bring some sort of personal note into it. And then I just let the things happen. I collect all the footages I need. I also go back and check out my own footages that I have from the past when I was
Mhm,
traveling and so on. And I just start to write the script. And writing the script is not only something I do every day or something.
mhm,
Certain weeks I don't write anything about it. I just write down everything that comes into my mind, and can take up to 3 or 4 months, right? Or just sitting at night and think about the book itself,
mhm.
and how to connect all the dots. And that's something that just happened because I have the freedom to. I don't need to meet any schedule or something.
Got
There's
it.
no company behind it, and that gives you a
The
personal freedom
freedom, right? Yeah,
to
no,
get into
nothing is.
the
So
progress. Yeah,
basically, you literally immerse yourself in the
yeah,
book and
yeah.
maybe start kind of like living like the character itself, correct?
A,
That's what I hear from you. So
a little bit, yeah.
do you do all your editing as well with all these footages, Salih?
Yeah, I do
Wow,
the editing
that's a lot
myself.
of
I
work.
collect the music. I need to find
Wow.
royalty-free stuff. I check out what what images do I have myself from the past. From all my
Mhm,
travels and so on, and then I start mixing it together with things I found online. Of course, they have to be copyright-free,
mhm.
and that's something that can drive you crazy. To collect
Yes, to
all
check
these footages.
everything against like
Yeah,
if it has a copyright or not. Got
yeah,
it.
and
Got it.
also to find matching faces, characters that you can use for it and
So the
so
actors in your movies then,
on.
like how does that work? Do you pick them or are they your friends or people you know? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, so for the Kafka on the Shore documentary, it was a mix. So we have the visual images which are royalty free.
Mhm,
So these are free to get, but I also had to get voice actors, right? And the guy who was voicing Kafka is
mhm.
a very close friend of mine.
Oh,
And
okay.
he has never read any books of him. I just told him, look, I need a matching voice. What do you think? And he was like, sure, let's do it. Another thing was I contacted a voice actor who lives in Japan, and he was working in Germany for a long time because he was the German dubbing voice for Ken Watanabe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he's
What a
retired now.
coincidence, huh? I
Yeah,
can't
it
believe in
was quite cool.
coincidences.
Yeah, he's retired now. He's doing local politics in Tokyo, and I just dropped him an email. Said, "Look, I'm a big fan, and
Mhm,
I think your voice and your accent matches to the character. Would you do it for free?" 2 weeks, nothing happened. And then he just contacted me back and said, yep, we can do it. I will send you some files.
mhm,
You tell me if they are okay or not. And they were top notch. And so I used them as
mhm,
well. So it's always a combination of things, right? And right now we are working on a short film, which will be shot 100% on camera here on location. And a friend of me will star in this one. Another friend from our local theater group, because I also do
mhm.
theater in my free time. And that's just how the things happen in the
Oh
end.
wow!
Yeah.
Another thing that we have in common, I do theater as well. So
Oh, really?
there's an acting club in a Turkish acting club in Houston, which started actually beginning of this
Beautiful.
year. So I'm a
Mhm.
member and I do have a role, and we're hoping to have our play on February 22nd of 2025. We're excited about it. So
Beautiful. Yeah.
Sadi, I volunteer for next project. If you need a dubbing voice, whatnot. Hey, you have a friend in Houston.
Of course. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Yeah.
So selection. So, do you remember your first Murakami book? Which one
Yes.
was the first one you read?
The first one was Killing Commendatore.
Uh huh.
And
Okay.
that's also, that was back in 2018. Um, I've always been reading stuff like, as I told you, science fiction books,
Mm-hmm.
books that are based on movies,
Mm-hmm.
like Frank Herbert's Dune, like The Godfather. And then I left reading for around 3 or 4 years. And 2018, I turned 30. A lot of things have changed in my life. I had a new job because the old one really stressed me out. And I began to live a little bit more calmer, made new friends, lost some friends. and my life just became more adult. Just when you pass
Okay.
the magical 30, I don't need to tell you. It's like things just change. And my family just gave me a gift card from the local bookstore. I went in and I said, this time you choose something different. Nothing
Hmm.
related to films, nothing related to science fiction, no
Hmm.
biographies or something. And they displayed Killing Commendatore quite heavily in the store.
Okay.
I opened the first pages and I read something about a guy who is in his mid 30s who escapes the city and starts to live a new life. And I was like, yeah, that matches.
That's right.
What a coincidence. Yeah. And I guess many people can tell this, that they read the book and so many things resonate with them. So,
Yes, and Killing
yeah,
Monitor is one of his later novels, of course.
yes.
So yeah, you came into the to the reading thing from one of his later novels.
Yeah, I came in quite lately. That's
Mm-hmm.
true. And
Mm-hmm.
I went home and couldn't stop reading. I read till 2 a.m., I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and finished the book in 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then I was immediately hooked, and all the other stuff
Yes.
came afterwards, like Colorless Tsukuru Tazaki, Sputnik Sweetheart,
Mm-hmm.
Kafka on the Shore. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. So you read all of them, of course, by this time,
yeah,
I assume. Okay, very good.
yeah.
So do you have a favorite? Does any of it stand out?
Kafka on the Shore,
Me
definitely.
too.
'Cause
Yes. What is the draw about Kafka on the Shore? I mean, Kafka, like I just love Kafka.
it's it's just a beautiful book. I think this dual narrative and all the this creativity in the book is just unhinged. There are
I
no
think so
limits.
too. And I felt
It's
so connected to that young boy, like for whatever
yeah.
reason, like, yes, of course, I've been young, younger,
Mhm.
but being so close to a young teenager, like male teenager, like I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Kafka on the Shore was my second Murakami book. I
Mhm.
started with Sputnik, my
Ah.
love, right? And I
Mhm.
loved it. That was one of his shorter novels, like one of his shortest ones, I guess, like Norwegian Wood. And
Yeah.
I don't remember how someone handed. I think I was handed that one, and I really liked it. And I don't remember how um came to read Kafka on the Shore, but I did, and I was hooked. After that,
Mhm.
I was hooked. You know,
Yeah,
that, that that's the one that really gets you into the reel.
yeah, it's just the vibe, it's
Yes,
like a dream. It's like you're just lying on waves and read the book, and that's
exactly,
such a beautiful
exactly,
thing.
exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
dear viewers, if you still haven't Kafka on the Shore, I think that's one of the best ones to start with. You agree with
Mhm.
that?
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely, yeah.
So like we talk about Murakami like we're talking about our best friend as we're talking, like we're getting so excited. Sadi,
Yeah.
what do you think is the biggest draw about Murakami novels? What makes you read all his books? Why do you love him so much?
The first thing is he's very visual. He knows how to describe things, and you immediately get all this cinematic images in your head.
Hmm.
And also the way he writes his characters. I think
Hmm.
a lot of people can relate to this solitude he's describing. And of course, they also have recurring themes. That's fine. But
Hmm.
it's always this dreamy vibe he just projects, right?
Hmm.
And mm, what I also like about him is all the metaphors he's describing.
Yes.
Yeah. And this magical realism, he knows how to describe the environment, but he also has this magic touch. And that's why I don't use the word magical realism that much. For me,
Hmm.
it's like fantasy for adults. So we have the real world and the crazy things that are happening in the real
Hmm.
world. And it also lets you cope easier with things. He's describing so many menacing things in his books, like violence, but he uses metaphors for this. And what helped me a lot was to see all the things that are happening in our world as metaphors.
Hmm.
To not take them too seriously, and also to imagine that this could be something else that's not that menacing anymore, and to
Exactly.
see just what is going on behind the curtain. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
For me, it was the simplicity of his writing. Like
yeah,
I like the very classical ones as well. For instance, I'm a lover of Marcel Proust, and if you ever
hmm,
read Proust, like his average sentence is like 5 lines. Sometimes
yeah,
it's a paragraph. It's one sentence a paragraph. So I
yeah,
love such writing as well, and I'm so used to that. But
mm,
the simplicity of Murakami's sentences are very mesmerizing, but I think it's very important because he brings so many deeper thoughts and
yeah,
questions, philosophical questions into the mix. And it
yeah,
makes it so much easier to follow those in those shorter sentences, correct?
yeah,
Like it makes it so accessible to
yeah,
everyone, I guess. Maybe that's what's one of his draws, like making these very complex thoughts very, very accessible to all ages, even I should say, right? I think a younger person would enjoy reading him as much as an older adult person
yeah,
would reading it. And also, it's kind of like the what I describe it as like it's like a living, breathing writing style, as if like as you're reading it, as if it's writing itself, like a train moving at the same time. Would you agree with that? Like as if you're
absolutely.
right. I mean, it's the weirdest thing to say that. It's like moving. It's like constant breathing, constant
Yeah,
breathing. It doesn't stop, so it makes it so easy to read. That's why, like, readers, dear viewers, don't get scared. Like, you would probably finish this in, I don't know, like, if you're a crazy reader, you can finish in a week.
yeah, yeah. You're 100% right. That's absolutely
Yes.
right.
So
So
don't
it's this
be
pinpoint.
discouraged with the thickness of this. It's so
Yeah,
easily read. And at the end, of course, you might like to go back and read and again, for some of the ideas and some of the
mhm,
storylines, but it is so easily read. Again, he doesn't like bother you with long sentences, like
exactly.
crazy. I don't like crazy writing. Which I want to come to our next one, to our
Hmm,
next um, yes, the repeating themes, the metaphors in his books.
yeah,
He doesn't have, of course, all of them in every book, but several of them pop up in his stories, like cats, like right,
yeah,
Murakami. Like when you think of Murakami, it's always about cats, right? There's always a cat somewhere.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Even there's not a cat, there's a mention of a cat.
At
Wells,
least.
correct? Like
Wells.
wells,
Yeah,
dreams, many dreams. Oh my goodness. And actually, these dreams are sometimes I think they're astral journeys, right?
yeah,
I mean, I think it's like really
yeah,
astral journeying.
yeah,
Libraries, always a library somewhere. Books, of course. Moon,
yeah,
and making some simple dish like
yeah,
pasta, spaghetti, right? I mean, although I'm not a spaghetti fan, whenever
yeah.
I'm like, where is he gonna make some pasta? This new
I
character,
need some pasta. Yeah,
of course, whiskey and beer. He
yeah.
just loves his whiskey and beer. Records, 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 records. Do you have a favorite theme? Any of those, and why?
That's a good question. I guess my most favorite theme is when this reclusive character gets dragged into situations
Mm-hmm.
by extrovert characters,
Mm-hmm.
like getting
A girl.
dragged into a world. For
Any
example,
girl.
a girl. Yeah, 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 yeah. For example, yeah. It's like it's also a recurring theme. Like his characters are just reclusive. They live in solitude, and suddenly they get dragged into a situation they don't like,
Mm-hmm.
and how they deal with it. Right?
Yeah. They have to be pushed out of their comfort zone, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something I really love because I just love the reactions of the character. It's like just for example, if you have a friend who's very, very introvert, and you try to try to put a needle, like
Mm-hmm.
you try to get something out of him and see how his reaction is. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
not to harm him in any way, but just to see how he reacts to certain situations uh, that seem unreal at first,
Mm-hmm.
and to see what he makes with the situation, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. And I think one of his recurring themes is, of course, I think Murakami is very much obsessed with the concept of time and
yeah,
how time, I mean, what time is really, right?
yeah,
So for that matter, I want to one. This is from his last book.
yeah,
This has been waited for years, by the way, dear viewers, readers. The City and Its Uncertain Walls. I think all his readers waited for what? How many years, Salih? 5 or 6 years. By the time it was
yeah,
published, translated into many languages, and finally, like
yeah,
this was available. This became available in the United States last week, and I guess the
yeah.
fans were after that. So yeah, and I got it from my favorite local bookstore. So for
Beautiful.
instance, like it's a very short quote that I'm going to take.
Hmm.
And so another day in the town drew to a close. The days passed, the seasons changed. Yet, days and seasons are but temporary things. The real time of the town is found somewhere else. So, right? I mean, like these ideas that he brings, like, okay, where is the time then?
Yeah. Yeah, he describes time in a timeless way, right? So
Absolutely, absolutely. And he
he's
used
not using any he's not using any time zone. He's using stuff like seasons. Again, he's
Mhm,
using images, so you can see time progressing by the
mhm.
seasons and colors that change, and
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, another
that's
one
something I really
very
love.
strongly described is
Hmm.
from IQ 84. And by the way, yes, Saudi just made this movie. It's fantastic, but we're gonna get into that and
Thank
how
you.
people can find you on
Mhm.
YouTube. So, of course, yeah, these two characters are talking, but actually, time isn't a straight line. It doesn't have a shape. In all senses of the term, it doesn't have any form. But
Mhm.
since we can't picture something without form in our minds, for the sake of convenience, we understand it as a straight line. At this point, humans are the only ones who can make that sort of conceptual substitution. But maybe we are the ones who are wrong. Tango mulled us over. You mean we may be wrong to see time as a straight line?
Beautiful.
Right?
That's so beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, yes. It's one of my favorite quotes from his book. He has many, like many, many, many. So yeah, so yours is that. So yeah, I have a hard time like picking my, of course, libraries. Since I'm a crazy reader, I think libraries are one of my like favorite themes. That here, of course, cats, and
Yeah.
talking cats. With Kafka on the Shore, of course, when what was his name?
Nakata.
Nakata, he
Mhm.
speaks to cats, and
Yeah.
he's he introduces himself like a dumb person, and cats are like, a person who talks to cats can't be dumb.
Can't be done. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Eh,
just love that. I mean, maybe some people might find it childish. I certainly don't. I find
No.
it very, actually, yeah, introspective, and I don't know, like I don't know. I just love the fact that he speaks to he can write about people who talks to cats,
Yeah.
and he doesn't he's not scared of being criticized. I guess what is this adult writer talking about people
Yeah.
talking to cats? And
Exactly. Yeah.
if you have pets, we all speak to our cats and dogs, whatnot, and we know that they somehow talk to us back
They do.
down,
They
right?
do.
They do.
So no
Do you have
doubt about it.
pets,
Yeah.
Smiley, or dogs?
I unfortunately not. I want to have a dog one day, but
Mm-hmm.
we live in a normal apartment. It's not ours, so we're not
Mm-hmm.
allowed to have any
Mm-hmm.
pets here. But one day
I'm
we will fulfill
surprised you
this
haven't
dream.
added a cat to your life so far.
Yeah, I have. The funny thing is, I've never been a cat guy, but since I'm reading Murakami, I so badly want a
Mhm.
cat. Yeah,
Yeah, he just, right? He just gives that to you, like, oh, you need to love cats.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Which brings me to our next topic, of course. When you talk about Murakami, you cannot part it from music.
Yeah.
Apart from his rhythmical writing, music is such a gigantic part of Murakami novels, particularly jazz and classical music. Well, what do you think about that? And do you listen to the recordings that he mentions in his books while you read or elsewhere?
I do. So I have always loved music, but the stuff I'm listening to was always like soul, funk,
Mhm,
hip hop, soundtracks, a little bit of orchestral music, but he kind of opened this, love for several musicians.
mhm.
And I started to listen to jazz when I'm reading him,
Okay.
right? So there are many playlists on Spotify actually that
Mhm.
are just collections of all tracks that have been mentioned in his books.
Yes.
And I just love to listen to it when I'm in the car at night or if I'm reading at home.
Mhm, mhm.
And he also describes stuff like, yeah, the moment the guitar starts to play and the drums starts kicking,
Mhm.
you start to develop some sort of feeling for it, right?
Yes.
And that's also music is art, and he combines all these artsy stuff in his books, and all mixed together is just a beautiful thing.
Mhm. He describes his writing as jazz music, right? I mean, he says that listening to jazz made him a better writer anyhow,
Mhm.
so right? Like the rhythm of jazz music and already, but if you've never heard of him, I mean, was not writing when he was a student, right? Or was after being a student, he was so courageous enough to have a bar of his own, right? I mean, he had a bar in Tokyo. Was it in Tokyo? I can't remember.
Yeah,
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 and
Peter
then
Cat. Yeah,
he's been collecting records all his life, and at this bar that he owned, of course he was playing the music he loved, so he was a crazy music lover even as a very young man, and as a
yeah,
young man I can imagine him listening to jazz and classical music. At that age you would expect, right? I mean, maybe like more rock stuff for his age, I would think. I mean, he listens to rock music as well, definitely, but jazz
yeah.
and classical music is yeah, like top of the line. And for that mention, Murakami is not only a fiction writer, he also has nonfiction,
Yeah.
and I think absolutely on music is one of my favorite ones. Right now, I'm about to finish one for the second time. I just
Mhm.
love it, and I try to read this book as him and Seiji Ozawa were talking about each recording. And luckily, Spotify has most of the recordings that they mention, and some are on YouTube. But
Mhm.
if you're particularly into classical music, I think this is a must read. And
See,
it just I have so much appreciation for him after reading
yeah,
this one.
see, that's the only one I couldn't read yet because it
Oh,
has
really?
not been published in Germany. Yeah,
Oh, really? Okay. But you
that's the
read it
only
in
missing.
English. So I mean, I read
Yeah.
English. It's translated into Turkish as well, by the way, Salih.
Mhm.
So it is in Turkish, and you can find it in English as well. But it just blows my mind that how much time he was able to put in his life into listening to music, as if he's a musician, and he
Yeah.
doesn't play an instrument, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if there was like a career called professional music listener, he would be that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because his books are always they're like a jazz concert. They start in a certain way and
Mhm.
finish just totally different. And
Yes.
I think that's why he just that's just his style, right? So
Mhm.
it reflects on his taste of music and
Mhm.
also on the
Yeah.
taste of his stories and books. Yeah.
Well, of course, it was one of the things that hooked me for his books,
Mhm.
because I've always been a jazz and classical music listener. So when I like started, like like he mentions in such detail in his books about the musicians, the recordings, and I'm like, wow, I just love this guy. Like, and then I think he made it kind of. I think he's a pioneer in that. I've started seeing more writers integrating music into their books recently, but I think he has been
Mhm.
one of the pioneers in this.
I think as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay, like for people to cheat a little bit. Actually, I do that as well. I do write short stories, and
Cool.
I mean, I occasionally add a little bit of music to it, but that's also in me. So I'm like, am I a copycat here? But no, I love it. I genuinely love it. And if the story goes with that theme, why not utilize music?
Sure.
Sally, do you have a favorite character of his?
Yeah, I have. It's Nakata from Kafka
Oh,
on the Shore.
okay. The one that we
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah. And you already
Whisperer.
named you,
Cat
uh,
whisperer.
you, you already named it because
Yes,
he's being described as dumb. Okay, that's fine, but he has this emotional intelligence, right?
very much
Um,
so. Mhm.
a lot. He's very touching. When I read him, I was like, he touched me on a different level because
Mhm.
his introduction is so, I don't know, not really moving, but it's very sensitive, right?
Mhm.
He uses this easy language when he's talking to the cat and says stuff like Nakata was normal before, but then became dumb, and
Mhm.
my mom cried a lot, but my father was always angry. And it was like I was about to cry when I read it because it touched me.
Mhm.
And he starts his journey. It's like a hero's journey he's starting, and everyone is reacting differently on him, right? And then he meets his truck driver Hoshino, who is very good to him. He
Mhm.
knows how to talk to him. He knows how to get along with him, and he accomplishes something. Even if he uses violence, but he accomplishes something really strong. Not
Mhm.
everybody can do that.
Yeah, he's
And
a great character, as you said. And I love
yeah,
the fact that how he speaks to the cats like very respectfully,
yeah,
right? Like he never he talks to the cats so respectfully.
yeah, yeah,
He always
yeah.
asks permission, like, can I call you this? Do you mind if I name you this? And I
Yeah.
just love that about him. If you were a character in one of his books, Sadi, who do you think you would be? Or what do you think you would be? Not only maybe who, but a what as
I
well.
think the most comfortable situation would be just to be one of the observers and not one of the
Hmm.
actual characters. But
Okay.
if I need to pick one, very harsh question. uh,
One Murakami lover to the other.
yeah, no, no. If I need to pick one, uh, let's let's be the shadow from Hotbot Wonderland.
Uh-huh. Shadows. That's another theme for yeah,
Yeah,
shadows,
yeah, yeah.
shadows, shadows.
Because the shadow reminds the main character of be don't lose your feelings and
Uh-huh.
don't work too much. Don't forget who you are. Maybe that's something that's quite important to us.
Well, since
If
you
but
meant
let me return the question: who would you like to be?
well, I'll come to that, but I'll just read this one since you mentioned the shadow. This was the
Yeah.
third quote that I picked from, again, the city and its uncertain walls. Well, he
Hmm.
uses, again, the shadow theme a lot, and which is, of course, a big philosophical thing. Like, since Plato, like, shadows have been a term or a concept that made a lot of philosophers think about. And also in Quran, it mentions a lot about shadows. So,
Yeah.
and Murakami uses this a lot in his books. And look what he says here. The character says, "Sometimes I feel like I am the shadow of something, of someone," you said, as if revealing a vital secret. "My real self isn't here. It is somewhere else. The me that's here looks like me, but it's nothing more than a shadow projected onto the ground and walls. I can't help thinking that way." Which makes you think maybe we are the shadows,
Possible. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Possible. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's
yeah, so I don't know if I have a favorite character. They all come close somehow, like I, I
mm,
I I have a tendency to get into the character like very easily. Like if when I'm reading, I associate almost with everyone so easily. I think Kafka. Yeah, like Kafka. If I were to pick one, as a teenage boy, I would love to be like Kafka, I guess, like running away from home. I just love the fact that, like like he gathered all his like pocket money and, like just took off. Like he created a routine. He found a
yeah.
library to hang out.
I mean,
I don't know, like I
how
just
cool
love
could
the.
it
I mean,
be?
I don't. It's not like I'm encouraging people, young people, to run away from their homes or anything like that. But again, like trying to find himself a purpose in his life, a mission. Like he was lost, right? He was lost. He
Mm,
was very much lost. So he wanted to find an identity, and he really tried hard, and I really love that about him. So I guess, yeah, Kafka. And if I were to pick a place, that would be definitely a library, just one of his
mm,
libraries, like any of his libraries I would like to
yeah,
go. Just sit and read for hours.
yeah, that would be something we could do for until we're old, and it's
Yeah. Until we
so,
have to go for audiobooks.
yeah,
Can't
yeah.
read anymore.
Just stay in the cozy places, don't stop reading, and spend all the time we have
Hmm.
in a library. Yeah.
Sadi, I know that you have a podcast as well.
Mhm.
And what is the podcast about? Is it about Murakami as well, or do you have other topics apart from Murakami books?
So we started quite fresh. It's called. So basically, I made a reboot of the podcast. I started this podcast in 2023. I was not discussing the books themselves. I visited a visual artist who produces wall arts
Hmm.
inspired by his books. For example, you can see the picture above there. It's Kafka on the Shore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I visited a library and was just talking from there. And this year we just restarted the whole thing with a
Okay.
co-host, and we call the podcast Convo on the Shore. And we discuss one book per episode. So
Hmm.
this is how we started this year. And
Okay.
we will, of course, have some special episodes. Like we were not only going to discuss books, we will also discuss films like Drive My Car or Burning, or Norwegian Wood.
Hmm.
And we are also always trying to get some special guests, like authors, like other people from the industry that can tell a little bit more. So we have released 5 episodes so far. It's a new thing that is just starting to roll.
Hmm.
But yeah, we're working on to get some more special episodes as
Got
well.
it.
Yeah.
Sadi, have you tried to reach Mr. Murakami with your art, with your with your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I know he's a very reclusive man,
Yes.
so and I
He's
totally
a
respect that.
Capricorn. He's a typical
Yeah,
Capricorn. One of my
yeah,
favorite ones.
yeah, true. And I contacted his Japanese publishing house and asked them if they could forward my mail. I didn't get any answer, and I expected that. It was fine for me. I don't think that it will ever happen. So I know he's very reclusive. His interviews are very rare. You can barely find any videos of him speaking. I think there are in total 2 or 3 videos of him. So yeah, let's see. Maybe it happens one day. If not, it's fine.
Hmm.
So
Okay,
yeah,
but yeah, you reached out to his assistant
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
So let's say he contacted you
Mhm.
and he told you, Sadi, I'm ready to answer your questions. What would be one question for him?
I think one question would be just how he views the world. You
Hmm.
know what he's. I just want to know how looks the world through his eyes. If not, if he's not telling through a book, but the actual Murakami himself. So,
Hmm.
what what do you spend the most attention on? What bothers you the most? These are some questions that really interest me, and also maybe like if he has any message for the younger generation,
Hmm.
something. If there's really something important to him that he would like to spread the word about, what I would like
And
to ask him about.
interestingly, he's a writer. Although he's in his 60s, he writes a lot about youth, right? I mean,
Yeah,
he has a lot of young protagonists in his books. There is that young man in him still, I guess, right?
yeah,
I just love that. Like, or actually, he takes younger people seriously. He doesn't treat them
he
like
does.
you're dumb, you're idiot. Like he takes their feelings very seriously. He
Yeah,
takes the feelings of that first love, first sex, right? I mean,
yeah.
those things are very vital to his stories, and he tells about those things very openly,
Mhm.
very honestly, very sincerely. I just love that about him.
Do you
And
have a special question for him you would like to ask, or?
um how does he do it? Like, actually part of it I know because in his book about writing, he explains about his daily routines. I'm
Hmm.
always interested in people who uses time so wonderfully because I'm terrible with that. It always
Hmm.
amazes me how, these people make find so much time to, like, how did you listen to all these music? Like,
Hmm.
and didn't you, I would feel so guilty listening to the same thing over and over again. I would love to go and, listen to the next thing. But apparently, he takes so much time reading something or listening to something. And I'm like, well, that apparently time works differently for him. And I would
Mm.
like to know, how does that time work for you? I want to be in that zone. And how can I get
Yeah.
into that zone of yours?
Yeah.
Well, he starts the day very early. I know that he works in
Yeah.
the mornings and then he runs every day, almost every day. So he works out, he eats healthy. As you
Hmm.
said, he has a very private life. He
Yeah.
doesn't go out and meet a lot of people, like, he doesn't party a lot. So,
Yeah.
yes, he has a very private life. And I think he writes a lot. So, and he writes a lot. He writes every day. That's what he
He
said.
does. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
he's on a
he don't
schedule. And
always publish it, so he has so many
mhm.
short stories he's writing, and he just pushes them out when he thinks it's about time to push them out.
At New
Right?
York Times, right? Like he releases them, and then also he's a translator. I don't know if he's still active with
Yeah.
translating books, but it's just, yeah, mesmerizes me how he utilizes time so efficiently. That would be my question to him. you
Yeah. Yeah. And where he takes his power from to wake up at 4 a.m. and
Yes, I do
starts
wake up
running.
early as well, but for me, like,
Yeah.
before, like, becomes noon, and I'm like, where did the day go? I'm asking
Same for
myself.
me. Yeah. 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 I wake up at 5:30.
You see,
Not
you're
at
an
the
early
weekends, of
riser
course.
yourself. Hmm.
Yeah, the thing is, I need to go to work. That's what I need to do. But even if I'm free, even if I'm having a few days off, it's just like the days are passing so fast, and
Hmm. Hmm.
it's almost like you're taking your view out of the window and think, what did I do the whole day? I did nothing. Right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I think his modesty, like, I mean, we really like his modesty, I guess, right? I
Hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
him being such a phenomenal writer, like, many followers, many fans, and you said, like, he's just continuing his quiet life, and just like he's been living forever, I guess. He's not into, I guess,
Yeah.
like, too many luxurious events or like showing himself off. So he just does what he
Yeah.
loves and just goes on with
Exactly.
his life. Mm. How can people look you up on YouTube, on Instagram? How can people reach you? Like, can you give us your all the addresses where people can reach you?
Sure. So on YouTube, that's just Haruki Murakami art.
Mm-hmm.
Then you should find it. And on Instagram, almost the same. So if you type haruki.murakami.art, then you should find me. So,
Mm-hmm.
and on Spotify, that's just Convo on the Shore. But also,
Okay.
if you write Haruki Murakami art, you should find me
That will
everywhere.
show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah.
please, let's follow Salih and then encourage him to make more movies. Have you started something new after 1Q84? Are you working on something right now?
So right now, I'm working on a short documentary for Wild Sheep Chase. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now. But again, the thing here is I'm doing it very, very slowly. I initially planned to release it this year, but I don't think that it will happen until the end of the year.
2024, end of 2024. That was
Yeah,
your
yeah,
goal.
that was my
Okay.
goal, but work and stuff, just like
Mm-hmm.
most of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the beginning of next year, and
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
that's where we're
I'm
going.
looking
Yeah.
forward to it. I guess we're here to recommend for people who has never read Murakami before to start reading. And I also want to recommend one of Salih's videos on his YouTube channel. It is called The Ultimate Haruki Murakami. So that will be a great guide for you if you've never read a Murakami book. There, Salih outlines all the books and how they should be read in what order almost. You did a great job with that one. I watched that
Thank you so
one.
much. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
that would be a great one to start watching, right? And start reading as well. Well, Sadi, thank you so much for joining, for accepting to be my guest today.
Thanks for having me. And I would also like to recommend to everyone to follow you
Oh,
because
thank you.
I checked some of your episodes and it's beautiful how you just you know the thing that you just invite people I never heard about and they have so inspiring stories to tell at the
Thank
time you
you.
take time.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, the thing is, I'm so blessed with wonderful friends and
Mhm.
acquaintances. So I'm like, hey, people need to know these people. you know, you don't need to be
Yeah.
like famous, like, with a million followers, but yeah, like
Mhm.
we all have so much to give, right, to others. And we all have skills that we can share with the world. And I just love bringing out people and their skills and introduce them to my followers.
Yeah.
Sali, again, thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you.
dear viewers, please follow Salih Yayar's Haruki Murakami art on YouTube and on Instagram. Salih, good luck with everything and keep up the
Thank you
good
so
work.
much. Thank you, and same for you. I wish you best of success, and of course, if I may repeat it, please everyone follow Elçin. Thank you so much, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for having me. It was a joy to talk to you, and I hope we can do it again one day. So,
Oh, yes, maybe
looking
on a
forward
book
to our book
in depth.
discussions.
Yes.
Definitely, we need to do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
See you with the next episode, dear viewers. Thank you. Bye bye.